Right, I'm ready. Today I'm going to present you the 4 web mapping applications that were developed as part of the Green Search project, and they were developed for the urban learning labs cities. So the whole kind of point of those platforms are to be kind of a data sharing platform, so they can be used by the ULL city partners to share their project outputs with various type of stakeholders and help with decision making. So they are web-based platforms, and how were they developed really quickly? Project partners would decide on the content. So each of those platforms, we've got 4 of them, 1 for Bari, 1 for Ljubljana, Edinburgh, and Berlin. And the content really is different between the cities. It really depended on the outputs of the different projects. And so yeah, at Ecometrica we would provide some technical support to the cities to upload their data and decide on the kind of queries and how they wanted to display the data as well. So I'm just going to start showing you an online demo of those different apps. So you just need an internet connection to access those applications. It's usually really quicker than what I appear to be doing here. You just need a URL, and then you can just log in with your account onto those platforms. So the first page is an introduction, so you can have as much narrative information as you need. Here we have some Green Search project kind of description. And then there's also in this menu an about section that usually gives a bit more description about the city itself, maybe the challenges it was facing and the kind of projects that were implemented in the city. In this menu here, the user can select different type, kind of change the view. So for instance, they can change the background map here. And then in the display layer section is kind of where the users can visualize the data that was uploaded to the platform. So for instance, for Bari, there was a canopy height model that was uploaded. And there's options to see some legend for the map, and also an important one is the info. So that's kind of the metadata. So it's quite important for the stakeholders to know what they're looking at to help them making their own decisions. So, for instance, here it's canopy height model that was derived from high-resolution LiDAR data from 2014. And the platform is a publishing tool, but it's also quite a powerful querying tool. So there are some areas of interest that were uploaded to the platform, and they are available to every user. And users can select an area of interest and click View Area Query Results, and that produces this results page, and that basically extracts information out of the data that was uploaded to the platform. So you see there can be different type of graphs. You can have bar charts, table, there's a variety of graphs. And here, because I was showing you the canopy height model, in this app we've got some stats about the canopy height model in the queried area, and also a breakdown of the different kind of minimum heights of the canopy, max, average heights for the different green spaces. So that's quite interesting if users are looking into one specifically. What the users can also do is download this results page as a PDF or as a CSV, which is quite helpful if they want to kind of carry further analysis offline. Right, so I'm just, because I know I don't have much time, so I'm just going quickly through all of them, but basically there's lots of different types of data that can be uploaded to the platform, so I'm going to show you the next ones because they're all quite different. In Ljubljana, there are 2 different land use maps uploaded, so the Urban Atlas 2010. These maps have been uploaded to all the applications. And there's also a land use map that was developed by the University of Ljubljana. And some city quarters to query, so if I'm query one of them, you can see in the first kind of result is what Rosalia was talking about in the previous session, the kind of participatory workshop that they've had with stakeholders about ecosystem service perception for green space category. So for instance, this first graph kind of gives you a breakdown of the value that was attributed to each green space for different custom services. And then in this table, you kind of get the same results, but in a bit more detailed. So if you want to look at something a bit more specific, you can see this table. Okay, moving to the Edinburgh one. The Edinburgh one has been used quite a lot by the Edinburgh Living Landscape group, and it's got lots of data. So just to show you a kind of data that we haven't seen on the other ones is social data. So there's health deprivation rank and overall deprivation rank that's been uploaded for Edinburgh and around. And one of the most recent data that's been uploaded is the MapMe survey results. So MapMe survey was a survey that was carried by Forest Research in Edinburgh, and the participants were asked to answer 4 questions, and they were able to spray up to 5 different areas to answer those questions. So for instance, here we're looking at the results for question 1, and question 1 was, where do you go to experience nature? And as you can see on this map, most participants have chosen this area here, and kind of like all the kind of purpley area were highly chosen by the participants. And then when you query, let's say this polygon, you're getting lots of other results for Edinburgh. That's the pollinator suitability research that was carried by Forest Research. And that's the MapMe survey breakdown. So basically it helps us answering kind of this question, what are the most loved areas of green spaces in Edinburgh? And you get gives you kind of a proportion of how many times those green spaces were chosen for each question. And then again, a table that gives you actual numbers if you're looking into them in more details. And to finish, we also have an app for Berlin, and we have actually uploaded the Urban Atlas 2012 for Berlin, so that's the only app that has the Urban Atlas for an extra year than 2010, which allows us to query, to kind of get a time series of land use, so you see the change between 2010 and 2012, and again, in a table here. And other kind of data that were uploaded on this app are also heat stress data, and yeah, then a breakdown of the heat kind of islands per land use. So that's just a really brief overview and tour of the apps. There's like so much more data uploaded to those apps, and as you can see, there's different types of data that can be uploaded coming from, as long as there's spatial data, that can be social data, land use cover, heat maps, anything you want. And then, yeah, so this tool is quite a powerful tool to facilitate learning and knowledge sharing between the practitioners and researchers and different stakeholders. And that really allows non-experts, non-GIS experts to interact with spatial data and get really quickly kind of simplified answers out of those data. And yeah, it's really easy to share with stakeholders. I think I've kind of covered all the points I wanted to, but feel free to ask me anything else afterwards. Thank you.